Welcome to today's webinar on yachts and new builds and refits. My name is Kim Llorente and I work at the Professional Yachting Association. We are the voice of the professional yacht crew worldwide with members from over 90 countries, and we currently have full membership discount until the end of the month if you want to join or renew using the code MED20, which I will put in the chat soon. Joining me today are representatives from PG Legal to discuss the legal side of things in Italy, BMC Avocat for the French legal perspective, Fort Insurance to talk about insurance, and our captains to talk about their experiences, challenges, and tips. And now I'll let each one of our speakers introduce themselves.
So my name is Rainier Roumieh, and I am an MCA Master 3000 captain. I'm a fleet captain today, and I am building a 77-meter in a Turkish shipyard.
Thank you, Rainier. Marc?
I'm a French lawyer. I work in this industry for more than 20 years. I'm acting for several shipyards, mainly refit shipyards. As in France, we now have poor number of builders. I work for some builders, but for yacht of less than 24 meters, but it's not your scope today. And I will be pleased to mention the specificities of the French law with regard with refit and building of yacht.
Thank you, Marc. Dario?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dario Savino. I'm a Master Mariner, member of PYA and Italian Yacht Master Association. It's about 43 years I'm in this business. And actually, I'm a captain on 67 meters Benetti called Casper 7.
Excellent. Thank you. Lorenzo and Giulia?
Gaia.
Gaia, sorry.
Everyone, thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Lorenzo Ranieri, my colleague Gaia Parisi. We are both lawyers from PG Legal. Our founding partner, Gianfranco Popolo, started this law firm more than 30 years ago. We have, since from that time, a very huge experience in maritime law and yacht industry more in general. And we provide assistance to our client and, of course, as a consequence of this, to captains in all possible issues and methods that arise out from the maritime environment.
Thank you very much. Gaia, go ahead.
Hi, I am Gaia. I work with Lorenzo, PG Legal. We are a law firm based in Italy and Monaco. We do all the kind of issues regarding the yachting world. I do mainly contracts, and we both assist shipyard and owners.
Excellent. And finally, but not least, Hugo.
Hi, hello everybody. I'm Hugo Jacquot. I'm the managing director of Fort Insurance. We cater for the needs, the insurance needs of yacht and super yacht owners.
Excellent. Thank you everyone for your introductions. Now, I will let PG Legal take the floor and introduce their topics.
Thank you very much. Gaia will start with a brief introduction of the general rules applicable, of course, to maritime law and construction here in Italy, the importance of the role of the captain, and we have also prepared some short slides in order to help you to understand the importance of this role. Please, Gaia.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the invitation. So as Lorenzo was saying, today we will speak about the role of the captain in the construction and the refit of a yacht. So I'm going to start with a brief introduction on the general roles of the captain in construction and the refits. So as we all know, the captain has to run the crew, oversee the technical condition of a yacht, and keep the yacht safe, secure, and in compliance with both domestic and international rules. And according to both the Italian Navigation Code and the Maritime Labor Convention, the captain is the legal representative of the owner and also the person of trust. So his knowledge is very important when refitting or building a yacht. Is the advisor of the owner, and it's crucial and essential to establish a relationship of trust between the captain and the shipyard in order to realize a yacht that meets the buyer's expectation. We should underline that, however, the captain may take decision on behalf of the owner only on extraordinary cases and when it is a matter of urgency. So I already mentioned Article 295 of the Italian Navigation Code. And according to such article, the captain represents the crew, the passengers, and the owner. And as I was saying before, the captain represents the owner and may take decisions on behalf of the owner in negotiations and dealing when the owner is not present and in extraordinary cases and if it's a matter of urgency. And this is called absentia domini. And he may also represent the owner in courts for issues regarding exclusively the yacht, the cargo on the crew, and of course is responsible in case of wrong decisions if he's appointed to supervise the works carried out by the shipyard and or by third parties contractors. So now a little perspective from regarding the international regulations, and in particular I'm going to mention the International Safety Management Code, the International Ship and Port Facility Security Code, and the Maritime Labor Convention. According to such regulations, the captain is an advocate of both the owner and the crew. So the captain has to make sure that the yacht is safe and secure according to international rules, and he is responsible for the technical and regulatory compliance. He may also represent the owner in the complaint handling procedures submitted by a crew member. And this is a pretty standard clause that you can find in almost every construction agreement. So in short, basically, this regards the subject of construction in both refit agreement, which says that the shipyard, so the builder, has to build a yacht which meets the buyer expectation and which is of course compliant with the use of the yacht, which may be either private or commercial use, the flag states and the classification society. So having in mind the clause that I just summarized, the captain has also to make sure, if appointed by the owner, that the subject of the construction or refit agreement is fulfilled. And how can the captain do that? We have here a list of possible roles that the captain may have during the construction and refit processes. So, for instance, assisting the owner in selecting the shipyard, the technical advisors, project managers, and other technical experts, and negotiate and review all the technical aspects, so also the technical specifications and the general regimented plans of the yacht. Supervising the construction and refit process, and it is very important that the captain keeps the owner fully informed of any progresses, of any issues during construction, and also assisting the owner in participating in the sea trials to ensure that the performance levels indicated under the relevant contract are satisfied, and he may also assist the delivery and redelivery process. So the captain is representative of the owner throughout all the phases of construction and refit processes, and he has the authority to ensure that the shipyard and the project manager comply with both the agreement and the technical specification. We always recommend to the owners to formally appoint the captain as his representative or as his project manager in order to avoid the arising of any issues whatsoever, especially legal issues. Now I'm going to give the floor to my colleague Lorenzo, who is going to speak about the issues arising during construction. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gaia. Greater than I could do in addition. So what I would like to highlight and to add in a very short way what Gaia has already explained is that the role of the captain is really, really important in each single phase of the construction or maintenance or the refit of the yacht, because since the captain is the legal representative of the owner, since the captain is the person in charge, it's the person that material is there, of course, supervising and surveying, of course, the construction, it's absolutely important that he should know that pursuant to Italian law, we have very tough terms to respect. In case we have to put in notice the builder because of no fulfillment of his obligation or because of a performance of the works in a way that is considered not in terms of quality enough in respect of what the contract, of course, requests. So should we divide two phases. The phases during which, of course, the refit contract or the construction contract is still, of course, due course. In such a case, of course, it's important to refuse any signature of the milestone certificate to give a prompt and proper notice of any defects or non-conformity prior to, of course, to any execution of the contract, to any signature of the milestone certificate. And on the other side, of course, it's important that the captain should know that after the delivery of the yacht, only the so-called hidden defects, and I'm, of course, making reference to the fact that have not been discovered during the sea trials, must be, of course, communicated to the builder within only 8 days from the discovery, and also that the owner has only 1 year from that discovery to start legal action in order to obtain protection and obtain, of course, a remedy from the owner in case, of course, he has performed not properly the works agreed inside of the refit contract on, of course, the construction contract. I would like to highlight in this sense and respectively to the different cases I have, of course, summarized. The Italian Supreme Court of decision number 24725 of October 3 of 2019 ruled a very interesting case regarding the, in fact, defects. Specifically, the case regarding the new yacht whose hull was damaged by osmosis. Such defects were discovered only a year after the launch of the yacht. And the Italian Supreme Court ordered the shipyard to pay damages because the shipyard carried out reparation works which worsened the state of the hull. It was proven that the construction reparation works were poorly executed by using low-quality materials. Therefore, the supervision of the captain, once again, during the construction and refit work is fundamental in order to prevent any legal issues regarding defects or non-conformity issues. More important, the role of the captain is, of course, so relevant during, of course, the sea trial. During the sea trial, and when the yacht is substantially complete, or when the refit has been, of course, completed, it's important that the yacht is completely compliant with classification society, flag state, and in accordance with the agreed trials program in order to demonstrate that the yacht's proper functioning and its compliance with the terms of this agreement, the specification and the plans, is of course fully respected. A report of these official trials shall be supplied by the builder to the buyer and to the buyer's representative. The attendance of the buyer and under the buyer representative at the trials shall not indicate acceptance of the yacht. They shall not in any way release the builder from his obligation under these agreements. The role of the captain, so during the sea trials, is absolutely crucial. The captain attends such trials in order to ensure that the yacht is properly functioning and that she meets the performance requirements established under the yacht construction agreements. The same applies in case of refit of a yacht. The captain should also advise the buyer on the acceptance of the yacht based on the successful or satisfactory completion of such sea trial. And finally, just to, of course, consider and to treat the second scenario after, of course, the delivery of the yacht, it may happen that certain defects cannot be detected at the time of the delivery or during the sea trials. And in such a case, according to Italian law, specifically Article 1495 of the Italian Civil Code, the limitation period for claiming for defects of a yacht is 1 year, as I was saying before, after the delivery of the yacht. The Court of Malta, just to, of course, provide you with an example, with a very, very famous decision issued on 2015, so almost recently, confirmed that the above limitation period does not apply for the so-called hidden defects, which means that cannot be detected during sea trials, condition survey, or delivery of the yacht. Hidden defects, if reported after their discovery and acknowledged by the shipyard, are subject to the standard limitation period of 10 years. In such a case, the court recognized as hidden defects, just for making some examples, corrosion for the exhaust pipes of the engines or leaks due to the poor assembly of the seals. So, just to summarize the presentation we have already just now provided to you. The captain plays a fundamental role in representing the owner, supervising the works and reaching of each milestone, dealing with technical issues such as reporting any defect and non-conformity, and coordinating with the technical expert, and finally attending the sea trials.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you to you.
So I now give the floor to Marc, BMC Avocat, so he can also present how it works in France instead. Thank you.
In France, we have poor legal rules with regard with the yacht construction or yacht refit. The only rules we have is that the construction of a ship shall be subject to a written contract, and any change in this contract shall be in writing as well. That's a very basic rule. The other point is that the transfer of ownership does not take place until the date of acceptance of the vessel after sea trials. This can be amended by the contract, but this is the basic rule. Concerning the liability of the shipyard, there is one rule that you have to bear in mind. It was either for the building or refit works. The builder is liable for the hidden defects in the vessel, even if the acceptance is carried out without reservation on the part of the customer. And in fact, in the event of a latent defect, hidden defect, the warranty action against the builder or the refit shipyard is time-barred 1 year from the date of the discovery of the latent defect. So it is very short, and this liability is also limited to a 5-year period. It means that, for instance, I take delivery of the yacht today. In 3 years, I discover a latent defect. I have 1 year until the 4th year to act. If I don't act, I lose my rights. Even if it's less than 5 years, I will lose my right 1 year after I've discovered the latent defect. So it is another point that has to be mentioned is that in France, to interrupt the time bar, you must issue a writ of summons. So you need a lawyer and you need a bailiff to issue this writ of summons. The other point that has to be mentioned is that in France, we have court survey proceedings where the court is instructing, but I think it's the same in Italy, a surveyor, and this surveyor will be like the ace of the judge. And this survey proceedings is also a way to interrupt the time bar and to disclose the latent or hidden defect, because the surveyor will find this defect. Concerning the limitation of liability, there is also a specificity. Generally, the shipyard's contracts are nearly the same everywhere. We have general conditions, general terms and conditions of the shipyard, or we have an IYM signed between the parties, or we have a shipbuilding contract. In France, we have a case law that provides that the limitation of liability can be bypassed if the limitation of liability is so low that finally there is no counterparty, there is no risk for the shipyard, and nothing is committing him finally to perform the job. It is a case law that is coming from the shipping case law. It was, express post that was supposed to deliver the letters within 1 day, and there was a limitation of liability saying that the liability of the express post was limited to the amount paid to the express post. And our Court of Cassation said, no, it's not enough. There is nothing that finally imposed to this company to perform its contract. So in France, a limitation of liability, if it is too low, finally, it's a risk for the shipyard. The other way to bypass the limitation of liability is to evidence the willful misconduct of the shipyard, and that can lead to totally ruin the limitation of liability and then get a full indemnity from the shipyard. Another point that has to be mentioned as well, is that when generally a client is buying a yacht, he wants some security for his money because he's paying in advance. And this is a point that has to be taken into consideration from the very beginning when you draft the building contract. because in France, when you need to register your rights on the hull that is under construction, you need the support of the seller. So if you don't provide in your contract that the seller will register the yacht under the name of the buyer, you will be in difficulty. There is another issue with this registration, which is the taxes. So you have to anticipate on the problem of the taxes very early in the construction. And I think it's the same in Italy because there is some registration taxes when you register the hull. And so it's an issue common in Italy and in France. I think that nearly everything. One thing that has to be mentioned is that all these contracts requires a great cooperation between the managers, the captain, and the owner, and sometimes the lawyer. One people that can be involved also in the performance of the contract would be a bailiff, because in France, when we need to collect evidences, we can ask to a bailiff to assist us. And for instance, when a yacht is damaged during its stay in a shipyard, if the captain noticed, I don't know, something like an overspray or things like this, the best thing to do is to immediately call bailiff and lawyer so that we arrange a statement by the bailiff. And this statement made by the bailiff works as an evidence against anyone, even if these people were not invited for a contradictory meeting. The bailiff can protect the interest of the owner. We had the case recently in La Ciotat, where the shipyard of La Ciotat made paintings on a crane, and at the feet of the crane, there were two yachts, Harpo and Global, and we found overspray on the two yachts. Because we have a bailiff, we had the evidence of the fact that this painting was coming from this crane.
Excellent. Thank you, Marc. And just a small question. Are there any clauses about the role of the captain as there are in Italy?
The contracts are nearly the same. The captain has a central role because generally on the contracts, but it is a use. It's not from the law. It's the contractual use. We need a reference. We need some person of reference. And this is generally the captain that is the person of reference. So the captain is a nodal point for all the performance of the works, and is generally advising the owner on the choice of the shipyard and the nature of the works to be performed.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marc, for your presentation. And now I give the floor to Hugo to give his part about insurance.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you, everybody who talked so far. It's very informative. Right. So what I'd like to talk about is the shipyard visit and new build contract. Ideally, what we would be speaking about is first when a yacht is at a new build stage, then when a yacht visits a shipyard for a short maintenance or refit, and then when a yacht visits shipyard for a longer refit. Because it's definitely three scenarios where you will approach insurance in very different way. So I'll start with the beginning, yacht, new build contract. Now, the first thing we should all remember is that insurance is important at very early stages, even when you're negotiating your contract. The reason for that is, and I think Marc mentioned it, is who's basically responsible for the asset, who's got the financial responsibility for the asset, and who's basically paying for the loss of the assets for should this happen. One way or the other, the asset needs to be insured when the hull is starting to be laid, and so the shipyard may decide that they have the insurance, and you will therefore be recharged that insurance under the shipyard contract, but they will take care of setting up that insurance for you. Very often we see that this is not the case. Sometimes you will find that the shipyard will say that you will need to insure, or should you choose to do so, you'll need to insure the asset, and the title of the vessel will be yours from the beginning. You'll therefore need to insure the asset yourself. So then what you would need to do as an owner's representative, a manager of the project, an owner or a captain, you'll need to source what we call builder's risk insurance. And that is an insurance that is quite costly, not so simple to put in place. You'll therefore need to anticipate that aspect a lot. You'll see that is something that I'll be talking a lot about, is anticipating your insurance needs. So insuring the hull and the value of the vessel on a new build project, if your shipyard is not doing it, then it's something that you'll have to do on behalf of your owners. Then an owner will have liabilities early on in the project. As a build captain, as a project manager, attending the yard on behalf of owners, create a liability onto owners. Owners will be liable for their project managers, their build captain, their crew towards the end of the build, attending the shipyard. And shipyard will ask you to prove often that you have insurance for those people attending on behalf of owners. So one cover that could cater for that need is P&I, a protection and indemnity cover for pre-delivery. That cover may be put in place as early as the first few days at the shipyard if someone, again, is attending the shipyard on a regular basis on behalf of owners. So to sum up that part, new build project, you need to make sure the hull is insured, like you would when the boat is trading, but in a different way with the builder's risk insurance, whether it's a shipyard or owners that take it up, and that the liability of owners are covered as soon as someone attends the shipyard on behalf of owners. The next part is when the vessel starts trading. So of course, you'll put in place your usual insurance. So just for a quick recap, hull and machinery, protection and indemnity, and crew healthcare insurance as a minimum, those three. Then you'll start trading, you'll have your policy in place. Then comes the time where you come back to, or you go to a shipyard, or you come back for warranty works. Now, when you're coming back to the shipyard, most policies, the majority of the policy in the market today, will ask you to notify them, that your hull and machinery insurance specifically, you'll be required to notify them that you are going into the shipyard. And depending on your insurer, you'll have a short list or a very long list of information you'll have to provide. But in any case, and vast majority of cases, I should say, you'll be asked to provide a copy of the insurance of the shipyard. Now, that shipyard will give it to you willingly, in again, the majority of the cases. However, that will come with some obligation on your side. You may be required to sign a waiver. You may be required to share your insurance documents. And in order for those interactions to happen between you as owners, representative, managers, captains, and your insurer and the shipyard insurer, there are a certain amount of information you're going to have to provide. And again, the list depends depending on your insurer, but often it could be the list of works you're going to do, whether you'll be doing any hot works, the limit of the shipyard, their insurance, the wording of the waivers you're being asked to sign, if any, perhaps a copy of the contract. And if you're using subcontractors, that may be also something that insurers will want to look at. So asking about what they're going to do with their insurance, etc. So what would seem to be a very simple shipyard visit, maybe just for warranty works, could end up being an administrative burden on whoever is going to be dealing with it. So that's why we always, and I'm using that word again, we always ask, a good practice would be to make sure that you anticipate those shipyard visits as much as possible. You may not have all the information from day one. However, just make sure that you approach your insurers early on, because the worst thing that you could have is you arriving at the shipyard with your vessel and being asked all those information and having to rush through it. Because what is very likely to create is delay getting you into the shipyard. The shipyard have their own schedule. They have to lift you if you're being lifted out of the water. They have to lift you at a certain date, at a certain time. If you don't have the right paperwork, they're completely entitled to not take you on inside the shipyard. Then it means it delays your work, means delay eventually the yacht's usage for owners and charterers. So very important to anticipate. And the last aspect I'd like to talk to you about is when you've had a yacht for several years, or you just bought a yacht where you're planning to do a very long refit. In those instances, you have to ask yourself whether, and your insurers, whether this type of refit fits under a Highland Machinery trading policy, or whether you need a builder's risk policy. Remember, the builder's risk policy is the one we've mentioned for new build project. Well, it might happen that you need that sort of policy again throughout the life of the vessel. And as we all know here, the fleet of yachts is getting older. There is brand new yachts, but there is a lot of yachts that will be needing very soon extensive refit. We will see a lot more extensive refit being done where perhaps the value of the vessel is going to change. We can imagine a vessel where goes into the shipyard at 10 million, 5 million, and the refits is so extensive that by the time it leaves the shipyard in 12 months' time and 18 months' time, maybe 2 years for some refits, it will be worth a lot more. Now, if you are with a simple Highland Machinery trading policy, to move that insured value, it is very difficult because it requires you justifying that, with invoices, with a surveyor coming in, that value has increased mid-project, which is, again, extremely hard to do. Now, with a builder's risk policy, you can set stages of the project. When we've completed this, will be at X million. When we've completed this, will be at X million, etc., etc. So should something happen at the shipyard, you have your yacht value, your project value going up with the phases that you put in place, that you've pre-agreed with your underwriter. So to sum up, so that on that second part on shipyard visit post-build, I would say, always anticipate. Whatever happens, always anticipate your shipyard visit. And then if you're going for a long refit and you're gonna have a very long refit period, first of all, talk to your insurers very early on, so they can tell you whether they will accept the risk at the shipyard for that long, because they might be driving that decision too. And also make sure that you ask yourself whether the value of your yacht is gonna increase after that refit. I think that's pretty much it from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Hugo. Very, very interesting as always. So now I will leave the floor to Rainier, one of our two captains, and following him, Dario. Rainier, you have the floor. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Kim. So basically, Lorenzo, his colleague, they covered half my input. So thank you. I'm not going to repeat it, but I'll take it from an angle of more practical than theory. And I try to shrink it as much as I can from my point of view. So in general, and most importantly, from my experience and my perspective, they say behind every successful man, there's a woman, maybe, but for sure, for me, behind every successful bid, there's a captain. So shipyards, brokers, surveyors, architects, they do not operate the yachts, they build them and hand over them. It's behind an office down in a workshop. And there's no course or degree or a book that can underline theoretically what are the responsibilities of a new build captain. You know, a chef, a lawyer, an insurer, these jobs, you are expected to know everything about the job. And as a captain, good luck. You are expected, hopefully, to know everything about navigation, stability, seamanship, maritime law, weather, maybe. But it's impossible to know everything around building a super yacht. It's impossible to know all the laws and contracts, the welding techniques, the material to be used, automation, and so on. But we are expected to know. So as a new build captain, it's my first time in this role. I had to take myself out for a walk and have a chat with myself. How am I going to do this? And from a captain perspective, I went to this APAM, famous APAM, appraisal, planning, execution, and monitoring. And after 2 years, I can assure to anyone that our role as a captain is very important from signing the YCA until delivery. Our role is to bring our yachting understanding and yachting experience and knowledge about our client preferences and lifestyle to the factory. We are key decision makers in what is okay to give up on for design and what is not okay, what is safe, what is not safe. We are capable to have this bird eye overview, taking into consideration compliance, safety, the crew, the environment, the procedures, the owner preferences, basically more than anyone else involved, because most of the people around us, I noticed they are task oriented. For example, engineers, they are more into machinery. Lawyers, they are more into contracts. And we captains, we are owner oriented, safety oriented, multitasked. Our office travels the world, so we are used to this change. Yeah, again, multitasking, I know women are very good at it, but we captains, we are used to it somehow, to zoom in and zoom out from a department to another. We represent the owner and the future crew. Yes, legal representation and so on, but practically, it is vital to build a team around us, a team to consult, a team to study and report to me, because again, we cannot cover all the topics. I cannot understand everything about building a yacht and know everything about it. But the more information and data I have, the better the decision. It's vital to build a team with a technical consultant, lawyers, insurance, paint surveyors, chief engineer on site, a good one. I will cover this later. But it's very important to bigger this brain, you know, instead of having one brain trying to think about everything, build a team with more brains around me. And I find this role is vital as a captain to be able to get better results for my owners. I would as well consult with friends, you know, captains' preferences. I'm not building a yacht that I'm going to be captain on forever. I hope so. It's not my plan, but it's very important to seek advice, because some might have other preferences, bridge control, transfer of command, crew accommodation, yes, as per MLC, but how can we go ahead, how we can think about it better? And another role is every captain is good at it. The owner supplies, the warehouse crew, preparing administration, operation, documentation, I know, but there's a lot going on in our plate. So I would start thinking about dedicating, you know, so like giving someone the task to do it for me, chief officer, for example. And I would finally split my role and responsibility under the MCA, and I adopt this mindset and in every approach. So it's the safety of life at sea, safety of the ship itself, and safety of the marine environment. I would add to this a major role I understood lately, and I'm trying to do today, is trying to make a change wherever we go, a change to people's condition. Remember, we are a client at the yacht, so whatever we ask for, so hopefully they will do it. So I ask for better working conditions for the worker, treat them well. They will work for us at the end of the day and will give us a better result. I would greet them daily, know their names, make them feel human, you know, for this project, because at the end of the day, these workers, they are making this job happen. I'm not going to talk about handover, pre-departure, compliance, registration, we know them, but something very important is to accept or reject delivery of this project. Instead of accepting a yacht with a warranty list, I will be sailing this project. Yeah. So especially in a new build, the new build captain is somehow a rat lab. You know, we're gonna try this ship with this captain. If anything goes wrong, it's the captain's responsibility at sea, not the lawyers, not the insurers. The yards, they have lawyers, they have insurance, but I wouldn't jeopardize my career, the crew, the environment. I wouldn't sign if I'm not confident about the product. Remember, it takes, sorry to say it, but it takes one ball to play tennis, but two balls to be a captain. So don't be intimidated by pressure from the yard, but be the pressure on the yard, yeah? If you're not confident, don't sign it. You'll be sailing it. I will move on to speak about risks, challenges. With no surprise, the supply chain is the major concern today. It goes parallel with the spike in order post-COVID. Major raw material, cost of steel, copper, particularly aluminum, glass, and the prices are going up. So what's happening today, the prices are going up, there's delay in delivery, so the yards are having hard time today, one, to cover the gap and to pay for the delays. I would pay extra attention to finance and economy because I have a finance background. I studied finance before coming to yachting, so I look ahead and focus the statements. Contractors, they are changing contractors. Why? What's going on? The previous hull status, where are they? Is it on time? How is this going to affect the delivery, our schedule? Any order after us? What does the order book looks like? What's going to happen first, the shipyard bankruptcy or delivery first? There's a global and local economy, so I would pay extra attention to this because I understand it. Maybe good at it, maybe better than my job as a captain, but I would look at finance and economy. And moving on, I would speak about innovation and outdated vessels. I would be thinking ahead and search for innovation. We are building a boat, normally a new build, that's going to be delivered on 3, 4 to 5 years. So most of the people around us building boats and vessels, they are building based on their experience, not their innovation. I hear it a lot. On my previous boat, we did that. On my previous boat, it was like that. You know, I'm not building a previous boat, I'm building a future boat. So innovation is key, and looking ahead and thinking ahead is key for delivering the latest vessel, you know, because if I don't add a value to the boat I'm building today, I'm going to lose value later with depreciation on it. So adding value is very important in building a ship because it's thinking 4 to 5 years ahead. I would monitor the process, monitor my team. I'm not a painter, I'm not a welder, not an engineer. So remember, bird eye. How is this decision affecting that decision in the other department? Because everything at the end of the day is interlinked, yeah? Imagine a Rubik's Cube. Every move we make will change the entire result. So I'll do my homework, research, study, read, because any delay in one job will affect another job, and we end up with a remarkable delay. And that's a fine one. We were asked by him to ask questions. Here's a nice question for you. What's in common between an opinion and an ass? You know, it's like, everyone has one. And when we are building a ship, it's very important to listen to opinions, but at some point we have to move on. Because in parallel, you will find no one's willing to give an opinion, no one's willing to give an input because of the consequences and the risks. So I would watch for any threat coming. I would define the risks, be involved in finding solution. Yes, it's not my problem, it's the yard's problem, but this is our yacht. We are building it. The yard is having a hard time to find glass. Brilliant, that's the yard problem. I'm going to sit and watch. No, I'm going to help to find glass. I called Heason, another shipyard I worked with. Can I have some contact from your pool? We found a solution, we moved on. So just be willing to be involved in finding solutions. And another major challenge we're having today is this virtual bureaucracy, I would call it, and the avatar world we live in. We are having this webinar over screens, you know, and ships are being built and meetings are done over emails and virtual world. You know, we're waiting in an inbox to do list instead of just calling them, meeting, brainstorming together, trying to understand together instead of living in this metaverse avatar world. Because the more complex this reality becomes, I believe the more challenges we will have in building future ships. I'll move on and speak quickly about communication. You know, the seafarer's office address is never the same. As Captain Brandon O'Shaughnessy says it in his book, we travel with the office, yeah? We are expected to arrive after crossing a storm and the oceans, open the gangway and be operational immediately. So it's very common for us to know the local regulation, know the locals, understand the cultures. Communication is key, it's international. We are building a vessel today in Turkey, having MTU engines, Germany, Kongsberg Bridge, Norway, Bulgarian engineers, Italian architects, English designers, so that we have the best recipe to complicate something, you know, people and communication. However, if we can understand each other's culture, and as a captain, something we are good at, due to the nature of our job, we can connect the dots and make communication easier. And how to speak about challenges without speaking about designers. Behind every designer's dream, you know it, there's an engineer's nightmare. Selling a Capri stone on a yacht, it's very beautiful, but it's in Capri for a reason and not on a yacht for another reason. Selling a fireplace on a yacht, which is the captain's biggest nightmare, you know, it's and the problem is owners, they buy the idea and then we have the crew and trying to make a procedure around this to make it safe. And we have to explain that if it fits, it doesn't mean it is safe for operation. A tender with small clearance, a wing station, you know, it's like there are things designer design them, but practically it's not safe to be done. Not everyone involved knows what he's talking about. He's task oriented. He knows about his task, his job, but he doesn't take into consideration everything going around. on the ground. I would move on very quickly to speak about some advice from my experience and finish up with it. So I would say it's vital to have this ability to zoom in and zoom out, go back to the YCA, go back on board, match data and compare. Einstein says it takes like 59 minutes to understand the problem and 1 minute to solve it. So do your homework, zoom in, zoom out, understand globally what's going on in the shipyard, what's going on, what's the position of each person you're talking to, build a team around you. You cannot know everything. We have to put our, let's call it captain's ego aside and reverse the pyramid, you know, instead of being on the top, I step down and build a team around me to be able to have a bigger brain, instead of one brain trying to understand everything, multiple brains trying to understand and coming out with better solutions. We are building hybrid vessels. We have lithium batteries on board, the DP. So instead of doing the entire work, which is I'm not very good at understanding everything, I have a team. It's very important to have a team. I would lead, monitor, and ask for reports, ask for homeworks to be done, and trying to lead the team. It's very important to listen to what is going on, listen to inputs, take them, challenge them, and come out with a decision. I would think about the owner first. It is his money that I am spending. What am I getting him in return? It's not about my taste of doing things, but it's about the owner preferences. And be organized. I insist, be organized, and be organized. Otherwise, you will lose it. Emails, notes, files. Go a mile ahead of everything. What are the risks? Find solutions. COVID, lack of material. Okay, we need painters. We need new contracts. Think ahead. You'll be driving this boat on the water, not the designers, not the lawyers. So it's very, safety of the vessel is first. I wouldn't sign it if I'm not confident about the project. Get to know the people working on it. And again, don't sign if you don't feel it. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Rainier. So I'll leave the floor to Dario now.
Did a little presentation. In my experience, I have about 30 years of work. I've built something like 6 new builds, and probably every year of my career, I've been on shipyards for refit. And I can see that things are changed radically. I've taken the responsibility of being owner representative on shipyards by new builds for 50 meters, 65 meters. But nowadays, building a boat is such a complicated process that I really think it's not one-man band anymore. You are in the need of having an owner team and a very good owner team all the time, either for new build or for a refit. It's still the captain has got most of the influence over the owners, the one that talks directly with the owner. So it's important that shipyards start to understand this. But as usual, you will find out that on a ship built nowadays, it's not always what is more useful, what is more important for the crew, for the work ergonomy, but often is what the architects want. So kind of condemn we have to face, but most of the time it's the beauty, the aesthetic, the owner's wife desires more than what is functional, what is seaworthy, and what is good for the boat. So when we get to a shipyard, we look a bit like this funny penguin, because we asking things that shipyard basically doesn't know, like my colleague was saying. We ask things which are interesting, good, futuristic for the boat, functional, but the aim of the shipyard is another one. The aim of shipyard is to get the boat delivered, okay? So that's why we definitely need to have a good owner team, because the build of boat or the refit doesn't start when you get to the yard, when you get employed by the owner to follow a new project, but it starts long time before with the specific and the contractual part of the specification and the contract. This is the first steps, which always are undertaken by the owner itself. Most of the time I've been finding they sign a contract and then they discuss the specific of this, trusting the shipyards. This is a common error by owners, which go, shipping, yachting is something is taken by, people get carried out by passion. So it's not always a logic. It's like buying a new car or a new toy. It's some things you get carried out by passion and not by logic. But this is one of the biggest problems I always find at the end of the build. you get a lot of complaints, you get things doesn't work, you get things built wrong, and you end up confronting yourself with the specification of the contract, and they are made it in a way that the owner is not taken care of. So most of the time you are with no enough tools to fight the shipyards. Most of the time I was saying the shipyards is trying to deliver the boat, so their aim is not to finish the boat, but to get to what they call the PODA, Protocol of Delivery and Acceptances. And this is a kind of trap. Most of the yards get so much work that they don't finish the boat by the time of delivery, but they just make a big list of works they will have to do in the future. And what often happens that when you come back for finishing the boat after summertime, after a period of cruising, the team that is going to take care of you is a different team. So a lot of information gets lost between one team and the other team. You will have to start tracing down where this pipe passed by, where this line is for. And this is wasted time and money for everybody, for the shipyards and for the owner itself in first place, because instead of taking 2 months to finish the PODA, you will take probably 6 or 7 months. So again, a clear and very carefully vetted specific before you go to shipyards is very important. Communication is a key, and we on my last build on 70 meters, we've been having a very good team made by lawyers, ship managers, ship surveyors, owner surveyor, owner manager, and communication was some things we kept on very clear and very well done through the entire process of building that was about 2 years. But again, there's a common practice about the shipyards. The moment they deliver the boat, they change this type of communication. So if you have collected a lot of things in a program like, let's say, any type of program that is used for that, then after the delivery, they will change it. So your notes, your comments, your done through the build will be not lost but confused. And that is again a loss of time. So what I found in my past professional work that the industry really needs a standard build or refit contract. So you can easily have a way to confrontate 2 different quotes, 2 different proposals from 2 different shipyards. And there should be a way the industry can make sure that the owners is taking care. I mean, I see most that sometimes you just have to say, okay, now it's down. The owners has accepted. There is this defect. Either you go to fight in court for 5 years, 7 years. It's a building a boat and also refitting is a process of love, passion, and shit. And you don't want to give the owners the experience of the yacht. You don't want to give the owners all the problems comes with the delivery of the yachts. Well, the after sales problems, the warranty works, and some owners doesn't really care about their boats, they just like to enjoy them. Some others are more into the build, so they are very conscious of what's happening on their boats. But definitely at the end of the day, you want to try to get them the best of the experience, not the problems. That's why a captain is there for. So, and also this happens when you're talking about refit and winter works. You know, there is not a single standard way to compare 2 different shipyards quotes. And this is a problem all the time because you have to make this kind of mismatch. So the other things I think role of owner team shipyards during a build shall be involved since day one, and that involves surveyors, lawyers, managers, captain, chief engineer, and while you go on with the build, you keep building your crew and getting all the information about it. And with this, I think I'm finished. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Dario. So thank you, everyone, for your very interesting ideas, thoughts, information. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.